Alright, so we open up to this kid, Rick. He walks downstairs to see his mom, Lucy, who's lying unconscious. Turns out she passed out because of an attempted suicide, as we see her lying down with notes alongside her. Rick calls the feds and they send an ambulance to get his mom. He's looking through the letters and he finds one to his mom's best friend. He tells us in fact he was sleeping with his mom's best friend and his mom must have found out. That may or may not be the reason she attempted suicide. Let's flash back to see just how we got here. So Lucy, Rick's mom, is an alcoholic who doesn't really pay much attention to her kids. She constantly mentions how she's gonna divorce Rick's dad. Oh, and by the way, this is Rick's sister, Kristen. She works at a strip club. And his brother, whose name you actually don't need to know because you're never gonna see him again. We also meet Rick's dad, Joseph, and if you're intimidated by all these names coming at you all at once, don't worry so much, they're not that important. Anyway, so Joseph also doesn't really care about his kids much either. Rick tells him he likes a girl at school named Nina. Joseph basically says, "Aight man, what does that gotta do with me?" and dips. Rick then heads to the strip club his sister works at and meets the owner, Jimmy. Jimmy tells him to go get one of his dancers because she hasn't shown up. He heads over to said dancer's house and tells her she has to head to work. She doesn't really feel like it and starts seducing him instead. He messes around with her a bit, paid of course, then immediately heads over to his friend Billy's house to brag about it. Here we meet Billy's mom, Miss Bender. Miss Bender is very welcoming. She then sends Billy out to grab some stuff, grabs a drink, and sits pretty close to Rick. The two then start an affair. The next day at school, Billy and Rick are talking about proposing to Nina when Carlos arrives. He tells Rick that he's a clown and that if he can get Nina to be his girlfriend, he'll give him $1,000. And vice versa, if it doesn't happen, then he'll owe him $1,000. Rick says, "Oh yes, Sirski, you have a bet." He then realizes what a mistake he's made. It turns out Carlos's dad is a gangster, and if he doesn't give him his money, then he might get owned. He's in the bathroom sulking when his imaginary friend, who's also played by his mom, Saint Lola, appears, telling him that he can do it if he believes in himself. Moving on. Rick then witnesses Nina, who looks pretty familiar, breaking up with her boyfriend. He then decides he for sure has a chance with her. We cut to class and the teacher is teaching when, boom, he dies. The students then get a day off. Nice. Rick approaches Nina and asks if she'd like to accompany him to the teacher's funeral. Nina's ex comes through dripping with testosterone. Nina says she would love to go with Rick and ex gets upset. So it's the next day and the crew's at the funeral. They're all talking when Nina says she enjoys Josh Garvin's music. To impress her, Rick lies that he knows Josh Garvin personally and he's headed to his concert tomorrow. Nina asks if she can go with him to said concert and he says yes, Sirski. Then suddenly someone rams them from behind. They get out to see the father who's conducting the funeral proceedings has hit them. He comes through and says, "Yo, my bad man," and says that Rick should probably get his car fixed and weasels his way out of paying. Anyway, Rick has bigger things to worry about. See, he told Nina he had Josh Garvin concert tickets and well, he lied. He heads to the club and talks to Jimmy, the owner. Jimmy says, "Sure, I can get you some concert tickets, man, but first you must do something for me." He tells Rick all he has to do is pick up some drugs and they're straight. Rick heads over to the dealer and gets said drugs. He then heads home and stashes them. Okay, so now that all that's settled, he needs a car since the one he was driving yesterday, which by the way was his mom's, got hit. While playing a game of tag with Miss Bender, he asks to borrow her car. She says sure. The next day, Rick is heading over to pick up the car when Miss Bender asks him to bring Billy along. He reluctantly agrees. The two head over to pick up the tickets from Jimmy. Jimmy says, "Yeah man, I lied. I didn't get your tickets and I never intended to." He closes the door. The two are pretty pissed when Nina arrives. As they're telling her about the tickets, Billy suddenly spots Rick's dad's car. They eventually find Rick's dad with Billy's dad along with a pretty young girl. Rick apologizes to Nina for not being able to get the tickets and she forgives him. The next day they get a new teacher. She's about to start teaching when, well, she dies too. Rick and Billy are at the crib when they get a call. It's the mechanic who's fixing his mom's car. He tells them that it'll be another week to fix said car, so he sends them a nice expensive car to drive in the meantime. The boys get hype and begin driving. They pick up Nina and all go for a joyride. They then get stopped by the police. So it turns out the mechanic's body has been found in Rick's mom's car, and the car that he's driving now is the mechanic's car. The popos say it's looking like he did it. Rick needs a lawyer. A lawyer arrives. She does some lawyer talk. Rick mentions it was his dad's car they found the body in and the two leave. Rick is driving her home when she accidentally takes some pills Rick stashed away. She starts getting pretty lit and comes on to Rick. He tells her to chill and drops her off since he has a thing for Nina now. Rick arrives home and finds out his sister invited a few of her stripper friends to the crib. He then gets an idea. He tells Billy they'll be opening their own strip club at his house to earn some cash so he can give it to Carlos. Remember that he made a bet with this guy from earlier in the movie. Well, he's pretty sure he's gonna lose, so this is the best plan he can come up with to get the money. Rick then tells the girls of his plan and everyone is in agreement. Billy also calls his mom to come through for some strange reason. She comes through and sends Billy away. She takes some ecstasy that Rick had stashed, then tries seducing him. Rick starts running away from her and not trying to do all that since again he likes Nina. Billy comes back and wonders what's going on. His mom is still turning up and Rick tells him to take his mom to another room. Rick calls Jimmy and asks him to come over to help Billy's mom come down since she's way too turned. The boys start pulling in some serious cash when Jimmy arrives to help Billy's mom. Nina also arrives because she's worried about Rick. The two are chatting and get pretty close. They're about to kiss when Miss Bender suddenly arrives. She starts getting pretty seductive and it's obvious that she's having an affair with Rick. Nina gets upset and leaves. Rick stops her and tries to get her to stay when some guy pops up and starts snitching. Yo, Carlos wants his money for that bet. You know that bet that Nina will become your girlfriend? Nina gets even more upset, but Rick has bigger problems. The feds arrive, because well, all of this is pretty illegal. Nina tries to hit Rick but hits a cop. Everyone gets arrested, including Nina. Well, everyone except for Rick. Rick heads to the station to see Nina. Nina says she was in love with him but now realizes that he's a clown, so he heads home. He gets a call from his dad who was arrested for the murder of that mechanic from earlier. Alright, so now we flash to the present. Rick is pretty down bad about all the events happening and heads to church. He starts confessing to the father about sleeping with Miss Bender, who then starts jacking Rick up because it turns out he was sleeping with Miss Bender too. Rick heads to Miss Bender's crib and ends their affair. He then heads to the hospital to see his mom. His mom's pretty upset, but she realizes that Rick is really sad, so she gives him some advice. Her advice is that he needs to fix all this, to which he gets pretty motivated. He gets caught by Carlos, who really wants his money. He tells Rick that he's gonna take his fingers off and Rick starts to freak out. Carlos says he's just messing around and Rick doesn't owe him any money. Okay, I guess that's one problem solved. He heads over to meet his lawyer and says he needs help getting Nina out of jail, but well, he's pretty broke. She hires him to work part-time and he agrees to do it. The lawyer gets everyone released, which solves another problem. And by the way, this is all happening in like the last 10 minutes of the movie, so since they're going pretty quick, we'll do the same. Rick heads to the hospital to visit his mom where Nina now works. He gives his mom divorce papers to divorce his dad so she can be happy. Boom, problem 3 solved. He's heading out of the hospital and runs into Nina. He says sorry and that he really liked her. She says it's all good, man, and they kiss. Final problem solved, and the movie ends. And that's the end of our show, ladies and gentlemen. If you like this recap, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like this one. Take care.